And we're back. The very last Egypt episode. After this, we are in Transylvania.
At last, and we're in a place that I have more expertise and I can talk about in more depth. Though, I mean, it is an MMO quest. Of course, it's a dumb pun. But Mummy Issues just kind of took me by surprise the moment I saw it.
These pathetic hollow things were promised existence for eternity. Yet your phrase...
Yeah, I'm just...
and he's like...
Whenever he talks about how much he hates us, I think back to just what I said the last video, where I'm like, if your parents are shit to you and favor one of the kids over the other, that's not that kid's fault. Like, that's the parents' fault.
Is my gift.
Yeah, well, I mean, they do kind of think they're better than us, just all by definition, so they wouldn't exactly listen to us.
Detestable monkeys. Paradise returned as it was, as it should be. Gaze upon the earth they will be given.
And the funny thing is, that's not... Mummies were not supposed to be like... I mean, well, no, never mind.
Though I would spit if it would not turn to vapor, Gaia needs your life. The two cannot be separated. And I cannot be sworn to protect one without the other. So, we all have our causes to suffer. Let us work to ensure their suffering is keener.
How
I just realized I still have to... I just realized I still have to do all the fucking... The 2 dungeons. Dungeons for Egypt, still.
Like, and...
They're not hard, they
those
take
are-
like
yeah,
15
but, like-
minutes, but it's just...
Yeah, they're not a stealth mission. As far as I know, they might be.
No, they're not. They're easy on my... Almost on my, like, tier... I think I'm tier 5 on my other character. Still working on unlocking that very last mission.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, I will not be sad to see Egypt go, because I have been out of my element this whole time. I've just been waiting, because we're going to Romania. I can talk about late Rome. And, it's going to be so much easier. Maybe I won't run out of things by like 2/3 of the way through the whole region and have to scramble. So do you think that, what's his face, that Jinn, are they immortal or do they reproduce?
I think both.
Do you think he was there? Do you think he, like, was there during the first stage?
He, in particular, I believe so. He certainly seems to act like it.
Yeah. Which means there are so many things we could ask him that he would just insult us for for daring to have the temerity to ask him about.
Summon and bind a Jinn just to make him give you a PhD in history.
Yeah, that's like, you know.
Citation: I summoned and bound a Jinn.
Yeah, was that? I think
almost as good as this was revealed to me in a dream, as far as citations go. Or Ted Kaczynski, best known for other work.
Yes, that is a particularly famous one.
Because if you didn't know, Ted Kaczynski was a once-in-a-generation mathematical genius. Before the CIA used him as part of a project to see what would happen if Max dosed someone with LSD. And what happens is you get the Unabomber.
And there are still papers that cite him to this day because his work is fundamental. His work is brilliant, as much as he turned into the Unabomber. But and I mean, like, considering that Carl Jung literally did cite his dreams, but then this is early psychology. That shit was the Wild West. That shit was like Freud doing a ton of cocaine and then talking about people wanting to fuck their moms, and everyone in the room would just applaud because they thought, "Wow, it's brilliant." Like, psychologists.
My favorite is all the unethical experimentation that happened in the 20s and 30s.
Yeah. Oh god.
The Pit of Despair experiment.
That one I'm not heard of, or at least I don't know by name.
What happens if you put a monkey in a room that's very uncomfortable and it just has like food and water, but you give it absolutely no socialization? And the answer is the monkey becomes incredibly depressed.
Yeah. I mean, and like people today will talk about, like, you ask a modern psychologist about Freud, the answer will usually be something along the lines of, he was brilliant. He started the field, and he was completely wrong about everything. His sample size was rich women in Vienna at the turn of the last century. From that he generalized to cover the entirety of human mentation, and was wrong in almost every account. And he started things, and he came up with basically engaged in some, freehand world building, and people took that really seriously for a long time. But you know what? You know why historians hate Freud, or why many historians hate Freud?
Because people use Freudian analysis on historical figures.
Precisely, including there are professional historians who do that, and they suck. And it is like people. This doesn't really happen anymore. Very few new historians use Freudian analysis, but that was big in like the 60s and the mid-century. And there are a lot of big, like, authoritatively researched works that just use stuff that was 30 years out of date when it was written, because they didn't bother keeping up. They just referenced the texts like they were historical works, I guess. And so you get these tomes that are just useless and make terrible assumptions. And because they are done impeccably since the methodology is impeccable, it's just the underlying theory is so fucked that everything it produces is worthless, and that drives a lot of historians nuts.
I have run out of the proper enemy to kill to drop the last piece, so I'm just sort of like, do I wait for them to respawn? What do I do here?
Oh, right, we're playing an MMO. I forgot for a moment.
Well, I finally got out of Moria in Lord of the Rings Online, and now I'm in Mirkwood.
I'm going to meet the very earliest Wood Elves. And it's fascinating seeing, like...
Well, not this part of the Mirkwood campaign. This part is about the assault on the fortress of Dol Guldur.
Well, and that's where the term necromancer comes from, in fairness.
Yes.
Like, because, like, I really respect Lord of the Rings. I find the books very long and very long-winded. They take forever to go anywhere, and they're very much about the journey rather than the destination. And
well, you have to understand, he was very much impersonating Old English and Norse sagas.
Yeah, I mean, I've read some of those. I've read Old English and Norse sagas, and they can tend to be more action-packed than Lord of the Rings is. Like, he's taking his time, and he's doing something deliberately there. This is not like him being a bad author. It's just that the the length and breadth of his world building, I just find it overwhelming.
I
And
have
I just
always
kinda get
said
bored.
that the last time I read Lord of the Rings, I was 8 or 9 years old. And I will always say it was like getting through part of the Bible.
Yeah.
Just that section of the begats.
Yeah. Or, it's and well, look. There's a thing about those. In a lot. Actually, here's something I can talk about. I found content. There's a lot of things that oral traditions share in how they pass down stories, and something that baffles a lot of people who decide to start looking into them is that they almost always, somewhere, like these great epics, almost always at some point bring the narrative to a screeching halt to just list. You get the endless begats in the Old Testament. You get in the Iliad, you get the catalog of ships, which for page after page lists every area of Greece and all the ships it sent along. And you get these like genealogical things right in the middle of the narrative that make everything feel like it stopped. And actually, have I talked? I'll go back to the oral history of the Bible later. But and the reason that happens is because when they were still oral traditions before they were written down, those would be modified, and they would also be read to some people who were parts of those groups, like to somebody sitting in I don't know, somewhere in the United States in the year 2022. You're not going to recognize any of the names that are read off in the Iliad of any of these places. Maybe you remember something from like 8th grade world history or something, but it's just words to you. If you're somebody listening to a poet recite it in 700 BC in Greece, that poet is going to recite your part of Greece and be able to tell you how many ships that part of Greece sent to Troy, and on whose side they were, and who led them, and what the whole situation there was. And basically people would adjust it, and like, instead of reading all of the begats out or something, or whatever the equivalent is, they just list the relevant parts out for whoever their audience was. They'd have the whole thing memorized, and just like cut out the stuff that didn't matter. But did you know that the Old Testament was originally a song?
Yes. I think we had this discussion before, but go ahead anyway, because it was 50 videos ago.
Yeah, probably more than a year of real time. But like, the Old Testament was originally it was spoken. It was sung. Like, to this day, you go to a synagogue and listen to people read Torah, they will sing it. They have a whole system of song for it, because even though we are writing it down, we're still preserving the fact that it was once an oral tradition passed down from tribes member to tribes member.
The thing that makes me really think about that is, you remember the steamed hams meme? Someone did a rendition of that where they wrote it as if it was a section of the Torah and then sung it in Hebrew.
What?
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
I may have to look that up.
In my exile, I have watched generations of you filthy brutes whelping, breeding, and dying. Over thousands of years of your sordid cycles, I grew only to hate you all the more. But Gaia must continue. You are a side effect, a happy accident for all monkeys. So when I ask you,
I have to wonder.
to aid me, you understand what is at stake.
Does he believe in evolution? Because he was there. And does evolution exist in this world? Because the host presumably made humanity.
And it has fed on
But
you well, grown in strength,
it's been reset so many
I
times
don't know,
that
they
the
don't-
hosts no longer exist.
Turns them upon
Yeah,
Gaia.
well, the host still exists. We see them later.
I mean, okay, fair, but like they're
Allow it.
They're not involved.
We are already exiles.
not what they
Without
were.
Nobility.
Mm-hmm.
We are nothing. The corrupted Jinn must be purged for the sake
I like that line,
of
without nobility, we are nothing.
mine.
Yeah, you guys don't have. They don't really have that much left.
Through this vile nest as a firestorm.
Man,
I die during this mission, by the way, because it sucks.
mhm.
So basically, they send you to an area that has enemies with super high defense, and you summon Amir, and he hits them with an effect that makes you hit more often.
In fire, I take form. Be purged.
Oh, he's following you. Okay.
Yeah. I wonder who put the Amir urns here, though. It's like... that's the sort of question you ask, and you're like, you know, who fills the treasure chests in the dungeon?
Yeah. It's. I mean, dungeons don't make any sense. Of course they. There's a whole genre about it. Like, I don't know. Someday I just don't have. I don't feel like talking about it because I just don't feel like talking about it. But someday there is talk. You know, when we get to Japan, I can talk about the way that that like dungeon fantasy, Dungeons and Dragons style dungeon crawling and stuff jumped across the Pacific and ended up embedding itself in Japanese culture. A very different way than the way it worked its way into American culture. And, like...
Can you explain why they always have, like, adventurers guilds that act that way?
I can't say that... I can't really explain why. I can speculate. But I will say... if you think about it like this... if you watch Isekai, and then imagine... what would happen if a generation of writers decided that they wanted to turn their favorite old JRPGs into anime? And that's why they have those classes. That's why they have that approach. A lot of that is drawn from the basic genre conventions and mechanical conventions of old Japanese role-playing games, which in turn are drawn originally from Dungeons and Dragons. And there's like I mean, I'm a big role-playing gamer, and role-playing is really big in Japan, and it works extremely differently. Like, people do not invite each other into their homes for extended periods of time as easily as people do in the Western world. Like, there are a lot more games tend to be built a lot more for like what we would consider tournament play or pick up and play styles, and like meet clubs and do that instead of going to people's houses for long campaigns, though that does still happen. And there's a lot of very interesting Japanese games out there. There's one where you play as like, God, it had a Giant Alleged, I think it's called. You play as Australian mech lawyers, and you fight out to win lawsuits, and randomly generate the lawsuits you're going to battle out with your giant mechs before every fight. It's wild, but you know.
It sounds wild.
And this is one of the it's not like a huge system, but it's enough that was able to get a translation to English and Hop Coasts. And they've got there's a lot of stuff that's going on there that it's been a while since I last looked into it, so I can't really tell you too much detail, which is why I was hesitating to dig into it now. But a wild and woolly world out there.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing about it in Tokyo next year.
When next year, there's long.
What's the word you're supposed to say after that?
Just next year, Jerusalem.
No. Like in if I was Muslim, I would say Inshallah. Like, is there a second part to that phrase, or is it just next year in Jerusalem?
I think.
Is there a God willing expression in Hebrew?
I don't. There's probably. I don't think there's a religious one. I'm pretty sure there's several pithy Yiddish ones. They're just not coming to mind.
I love Yiddish. It's such a great language.
Yiddish is such an opinionated language. It's a language that is, you can tell that it was built for an extremely specific culture within a bigger culture because of how specific a lot of the meanings get. Like, you have, I mean, I've talked about Forpachkit, which one of my favorite, probably my favorite Yiddish word, and it's a word that instantly makes sense to an English speaker, but there is no equivalent, and the equivalent phrase like takes a whole sentence just to write out.
What's the word?
For Pachkit, it is an adjective that describes something that was previously broken, then someone tried to fix it, and in the process broke it even further.
Like that lady who tried to repair that fresco in Italy.
Yep. Ecce Homo. Yeah, that is that you would just that you'd look at that
like they tried to repaint Jesus, and it's like, ooh, and just used a pack of watercolors.
Yeah, you botched it. I'm sorry. There's all sorts of like the funny thing. One of the weird things there are a lot of like cultures have things where they'll talk about them, you know, they'll have superiority complexes, or they'll talk about like sort of built-in assumptions of one culture's traits as opposed to others. And there are two very old Yiddish phrases. And those are Yiddishikup and Goyishikup, which mean literally Jewish head and not Gentile head. And if a lot of people, like, if people don't pay attention to, if you take a really high look at the vocabulary, that you could translate it as like, you know, smart and stupid, and you would be wrong. That's one of those translations that's misses enough nuance. It's just flat out inaccurate. What it actually means, Yiddishikup doesn't mean intelligent as much as it means sharp and slightly paranoid, but able to see through bullshit pretty much. Like, it's a survival skill. You have to be able to pay attention for when the Crusaders are going to come roaming through town. And on a lower level, it's like you being sharp in business and in a reactive way, not necessarily outsmarting somebody else, but seeing when someone else is going to outsmart you. Goyishikup means tasteless. It doesn't mean stupid. Like, you could absolutely look at a professor who didn't know what they were doing, the sort of person who can chart the courses of the stars from memory and can't do their taxes, or the sort of person who fills their like front lawn with plastic flamingos because they think it makes their lawn look better. I'm not sure if I don't think I'm doing a good job of explaining it, but like...
See, when you said that, I thought you meant sort of tacky.
Tacky is definitely a part of it, but just like... not able to get with the program, whereas Yiddishikup means you are absolutely able to get with the program. And you're just not really... Goyishikup means you're kind of detached and off in your own world, and the results aren't necessarily pretty. And you can kind of see how that can be translated to smart and not smart, but That's not how that actually works.
Yeah, there are a couple
I mean-
puzzles. There are a couple puzzles in this mission, and I just look them up.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the puzzle in this game, eventually they do hit the point that they've kind of run out of ideas. At least from what I remember, they start, especially when you get to the end of an area, or maybe not like that. Like, not at the end sequence. The end sequence also often really works, but like when you get to the part where you're leading up to the end sequence and you're just doing wrap up, like you just kind of get stuff that's just more and more stuff. But
You know what I can't
I
wait
mean-
for is till we get to the Rockabillys in Tokyo, and they have the big Elvis hair.
I can't wait for the end sequence in Romania. I remember really liking that. Liking the build-up, liking the characters, liking the food. But
Do you
like,
mean the end of the story or the transition to Tokyo?
probably the end of the story.
Okay, because the transition
I
to
never-
the transition to Tokyo is very good.
Yeah, remember, I never got around to transitioning to Tokyo. I don't know. I swear that there was like you had to like pay extra to get into Tokyo in the original version, not in Legend when it wasn't Legends.
Yeah, Tokyo was bad in the original. They had this very, very stupid. Every character has one of three every enemy has one of three shields, so you have to do a specific type of damage. And it was horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
I
just
never-
what I hear because I never got that far. Like I said many videos ago, when I first played this, it was the original, and I got to Innsmouth Academy and I said, this gameplay is absolute dog shit, and I am not doing this anymore.
As opposed to only slightly dog shit with the improvements.
Well, no, the combat in this is perfectly functional now. The problem is the puzzles aren't very good.
The puzzles weren't. I mean,
The puzzles were
think-
never very good, but
yeah.
you could put up with it
Some
because
of them are,
you put up
but-
with it because the lore is good, or the puzzles just
It-
sort of work on paper.
Yeah, a lot of the puzzles just work on paper. A lot of the like, it is. I do remember it being a lot of these puzzles being startling because they're so different from the kind of puzzles you'd expect out of an MMO that it was extremely unorthodox for people who were like just going into. Like it was kind of. I remember being startled by. Being immersed by having like puzzles that were hunting down clues and for like on the internet hunting down like Bible verses, digging into doing research, like stealing identities, so to speak. It was like
Oh god, that
very
reminds
wild.
me of a game. You know, if we didn't have a 1 LP at a time policy, that reminds me of a game we should do. That Frogware Sinking City game.
What?
Okay, so Frogware makes Sherlock Holmes games,
Oh,
and they're very
Oh.
good. And they
Yes,
decided
I-
we want to do an open world Lovecraft game. So it has the exact same mechanics as the Sherlock Holmes clue finding game, but also it has like open world combat and stuff. So it's very janky, as you
Yeah.
can imagine. But
are these? I think this wasn't the same studio as the Creepy Watson.
no, it's same studio.
Oh, it is the same studio. they couldn't be asked to properly program him program another like model walking around, so he had to work between some points in deeply impossible ways. That was that it's sometimes you have to compromise in game design, and sometimes your compromises don't work very well.
It was just one of those funny janky things, not like terrible. It was just you
Yeah.
turn around and Watson would suddenly be there, and that's why he got the name Creepy Watson. They were literally just teleporting the character model when you weren't looking.
just back and forth. And yeah, it's always every video game is full of shortcuts when the player isn't looking, but sometimes the sleight of hand is so too much, and it becomes obvious. Very few people like that, unless you're playing Dwarf Fortress. And I actually just started playing Dwarf Fortress again a couple days ago, the first time in years. I have to be. There's so many keys involved. I have to be careful with it. But I've been able.
There's a reason I have never gotten into Dwarf Fortress, and it is that shitty interface.
I mean,
it is straight out of Microsoft DOS. It is a terrible pre-graphical user interface. It is awful.
I mean,
it is the reason I have never gotten into that. That and the ASCII tiling, because I can't make heads or tails of that shit.
Yeah, I learned it at a relatively young and impressionable age, when I just sort of memorized. Well, actually, what happened is I read Boat Murdered, and
yes,
I was able
Boat Murdered is so good.
I was able. I did a presentation on Boat Murdered as an example of postmodern literature in a college class and got an A on it.
Welcome to fucking Boat. I took a class on. I think it was a class on. I think it was a class on feminism, and I did one on why Twilight was misogynist, and I got an A on that paper.
Yeah, because it is.
Yes, it's very.
It is in a very subtle way, but that's.
I don't know if you call some of what happens subtle.
I mean, okay, that's fair, but like, it's not as overt.
The reason it's so shocking to be shockingly misogyn. The reason the misogyny is shocking is it's written by a woman. So it's this weird internalized misogyny that makes sense once you realize the writer is a Mormon.
Yeah, I was actually about to bring that up. Yeah, it's very much.
Once you realize the writer is a Mormon, everything starts to fall into place.
Yeah. God.
My dad has been looking at what musicals are near, and we are going to see Book of Mormon at the DPAC when it comes.
I
saw in February.
Yeah, I saw Book of Mormon on stage a while back. It's brilliant. It's really good. And the Mormon Church actually took out ads in the playbill as they handed it out. Just, you've seen the show, now read the book. And all sorts of information about joining the church. It's like, I don't think they got anybody out of it, but okay.
I find it just funny how, like, okay, this is, how do I say this correctly? This is hard to say correctly. I am personally an atheist, so I think all religions are very silly. Mormonism is perhaps the most mainstream religion I can think of that is patently silly. Just on the surface.
A lot of it is its recency. Like, there is a certain amount of stuff you can get away with by saying it happened thousands of years ago.
No, even the stuff they say happened thousands of years ago is dumb. Oh, Jesus appeared to the Native Americans, and they're actually the lost tribes of Israel, and it's just dumb as shit.
Like, with religion in general, a lot of... most of...
I don't get mad at Judaism when stuff in the Torah turns out to be scientifically wrong, because it was written 6,000 years ago. I don't care. I get mad when you believe something that is obviously false, and your excuse is, well, an angel did it. Though I will give the Mormons one thing. They do contribute a lot to Native American archaeology. Because they think they're going to find evidence that proves their point.
Yeah. And, well, and the funny thing is, they keep pushing back our earliest estimates of when humans got to the New World, and we're not getting, the archaeology is not backing up their claims, even so.
it was like when I found out that the number one supporters of, Israel are the crazy religious zealots who think that Israel needs to exist for the end times to come, and it's like,
Yeah. And that's a major thing. There are flat out apocalypse cultists, very prominent in modern society. Nobody thinks of them like it because we're used to pop culture apocalypse cultists worshiping something devilish, something that looks like satanic for whatever reason. But no, most cults are Christian these days, at least in the Western world. And their equivalents are in other areas, usually take on same religious characteristics as whatever religion's dominant in those areas too.
are there Jewish apocalyptic cults? Because maybe it's anti-Semitism, but I literally cannot imagine a bunch of Jews going, you know what would be great? Apocalypse.
I mean, there have been in the past, but I think I've talked before how Judaism, religions that have an eschatology, that have Christianity has a very clear path to the end times. There's a whole book on it,
Mm-hmm.
Islam has it's not as strongly emphasized in Islam, but it's there. There's equivalents in there are equivalents in Hinduism, there are equivalents in a lot of Eastern Asian religions in various forms, but they're not it's not as strong as it is in Christianity.
Well, yeah, that's because we have that entire book that purports to claim this is what the end times will look like. It's a part of our theological canon.
And it's probably talking a lot about Emperor Nero. Do you know that? Do you know that?
Yeah, I know. It's entirely just talking about Rome. It's all metaphorical. It's all metaphorical for Rome. Some guy did shrooms and then wrote a political screed. It is literally no different than something you would see on the X board of 4chan.
Actually, look at the. Are we heading on to the final mission?
Yes, this is the final showdown with Akhenaten.
I do like that guy just sort of holding his gun he's, like somebody, like a doll holds a gun, like it weighs nothing. Who knows? You don't credit these people with being particularly intelligent or with paying much attention to physics.
For a second, I thought you were talking about the people earlier we were talking about, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, I guess that tracks. The apocalypse cultists.
That wasn't quite what I was going for. I suppose it is technically accurate.
I'm looking forward to tomorrow. It's family dinner at my sister's place, and we're doing spicy chicken breasts and Red Lobster style cheese biscuits.
Yeah, and that's yeah, sounds good. I mean,
I remember you.
Oh yeah, it's this guy.
Yeah, we didn't kill him on the train. We kill him now.
Prophet, that you can fight a god. Look around you. Say your last prayers to your deceased deity, and prepare to face the eternal fire. The black sun will scorch the flesh
He's
from
a
your
pretty
bones
standard evil
and burn
wizard
you to
character,
ashes.
and
He's got the beard for it.
Forth, my children,
he does.
and devour this blasphemy in the name of Aten! For the sun! For the black sun!
Does he think this is actually going to kill you, or is it just to slow you down?
I think it's just to slow me down so you can summon Akhenaten.
Probably. it's like at this point, like the only thing, yeah, it doesn't really matter how many people you run forward against, like normal people you run forward against the bee, even if they are like, I don't know what exactly. How do you describe it? High out of their minds on Phil. Didn't expect them.
I'd
to
say
win.
possessed.
Maybe. I don't know. You like.
In my mind, the filth is very much a possession thing, especially after we see what happens in Tokyo.
Okay, that's fair. I didn't, so I'm still like a little bit off on that, you know.
I'm getting air blown across your mic.
Yeah, something's up with my audio. If you'll give me just a moment, I'll try and fix it. By any chance, can you hear the
I can hear you
stuff that's
talking.
going on the screen
I can hear you talking.
through the microphone?
Yeah. I can't hear anything else. Just you talking. You're not getting any backwash. You were perfectly fine there, so...
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh shit, sorry. Alright, can you actually hear me?
Yeah, I've been able to hear you this whole time.
Yeah, sorry. Something's up with my headset. The audio isn't coming through quite well. I've got it working for now.
Yeah, everybody watching, we're not cutting any of that out, and we're not doing another take. And if you want to know why, it's because nothing is fucking happening in this video until after we get out of here.
And here's our first encounter with Black Pharaoh himself, sort of. Do you think that's actually Akhenaten, or is it just some kind of like, just like a filth puppet, I guess?
I think it's a filth puppet, but I think there's still some of him in there.
Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy.
I mean, it's like when we met Dr. Klein or whatever.
Yeah,
It's
it was
clearly a filth.
kind of him, but
Yeah,
like, he was...
it's clearly a filth puppet, but there's still some of him in there.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, filth is supposedly just by supposed corruption. It's like wearing away at reality to bring it closer to what lies underneath.
Yeah, so you can see the pattern of the boss fight is you just keep wailing on him. And then when he kills you, you activate one of the statues found in the spirit realm. And that brings you back and makes you more powerful.
Is there any, like, mechanical benefit or reason to do one over the other?
It's literally the only way to win the boss fight.
No, like for picking which statues you activate.
Not really, no. They all have different effects, but it's not really a matter. Like, It doesn't really matter. You will wear him. I wear him down without activating all the statues, honestly, so.
There's a part of me that feels cheated. Actually, wait, no, never mind. That's a shotgun sound effect I'm hearing. For most of this LP, they're one of the... Actually, wait, cutscene.
Yeah, this is a fun cutscene, because it's so video game. Yup.
Really?
Yup.
Is that all it took?
Yup.
You shouldn't have even budged. You should have just looked around.
Cutscene injury. The worst kind.
We got hit on the back of the head, and now we're dreaming again.
You rejected our kind and generous offer when you were here.
You see those cubes on the right?
What makes you think we will allow
Those are
you
Gaia
to live
engines.
our dreams? To speak, you are nothing but a parasite. You are insignificant. If I thought you were worth another thought, I would destroy you. But you are unworthy of our attentions. You pathetic, fragile thing, undone by mere molecules, by things so small they cannot even be seen. You are a ridiculous creation, weak and brief.
Belmont? Is he still here?
You think you can trust those around you, those you love and hold dear? You believe friendship to be anything but an illusion? They are all ours. Their words and their actions. We whisper in their dreams and we make them do our
If I remember
bidding.
right, there's a...
We can enter your mind, and we can wreak havoc.
Poor
We can
Ichi.
leave you an empty shell, or we
Turn
can
into a
instill
Nazi
you
puppet.
with
Nazi
fear and
talking
anger,
right after his
like
death.
those you have
Yeah, that
seen and
sucks.
fought in the world above.
There must be a way out again.
A mere thought from us, and you would vanish from this place and enter
This is actually the certificate of death
that would destroy
for
you
a
inside and out.
episode of Spontaneous Human
Leave
Combustion, I
only enough of
believe.
you to mourn the loss of your soul.
And I only know that because I read a lot of those
We are
unsolved
nothing
mystery
if
books as a
not
child.
forgiving. Choose correctly,
I'm close.
and we may.
Usually, I
allow
think
you to
last
make
I checked,
the
in
world
general,
can still
what,
kneel before us. Show us that you are against us.
Yeah, he wanted me to kneel before him, and I kneel to no one but Gaia. So, fuck off.
You just shot him in the face.
That's how you should greet God. Anyone who claims to be a god, that's how you should greet them.
No more.
If you meet the Buddha on the road,
Of
kill
the
him.
new world will never be yours.
Well, not the Buddha. The Buddha's chill, but, like...
But, I mean, do you know the... I should save koans for Japan. We can talk a lot about Buddhism and Confucianism when we get to Japan. That's gonna be a couple of episodes there just by itself. And back to London. And back to loading screens. They really got to, yeah, they have to unload all that stuff just to bring back the same place we've been a billion times.
As I previously stated, I've been playing Lord of the Rings Online, and that first came out in like 2009, and it loads and looks better than this.
I mean, well, in fairness,
again,
I think that game was also updated far more recently than this.
Oh yes, they're getting a new update November 8th, 2 new world areas.
Yeah. It's like, you can't say that about the Secret World right now.
Unfortunately, they're all aimed around level 20 to 30, so. And I'm level like 68. Sorry I have to do this on screen, but I, got full of points.
I just decided to unload them.
Well,
It's just
unfortunately,
fascinating
there
watching.
is a points cap. So if you complete a mission with your points at the cap, you will no longer gain the points. Which is a terrible design decision, and I struggle to think why they would do that.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably storage issues, but I can't imagine.
It's
that
not
taking
storage.
that
It's
long.
not storage issues because you can buy more than 50 points through the online store.
Oh, would that be it? You think?
No dancing widowship.
No idea.
Or, yeah.
One of the things the guards say, and they say in this video, is, "Aren't you a little short to be a Templar?" Which is a Star Wars reference.
Don't fret over the betrayal. If you absolutely must punish yourself, I think we have a wardrobe of hair shirts in here somewhere. In that desert, you proved two long-held Templars' beliefs. 1, we can trust no one outside of the establishment. 2, the stain of unfinished business never truly fades. Attempting to contain darkness is to bet on a losing game. If there is a homicidal genie trapped in a bottle, the only question is if, not when, it will be uncorked. Oh, and by whom? This Orochi group, this corporation, in polite language, they pose a delicate diplomatic situation. Nothing like the Illuminati, where we can strike a balance between forced civility and open resentment. That builds character. No. The Orochi group have lobbying power inside the secret world, inside the council. Their media empire could compromise everything we have worked for with one broadsheet cover or a 60-minute special. Our hands are bound. We can react to a situation in Egypt or New England, but we must wait for fools to rush in first, a role that the Orochi seems keen to oblige. So I couldn't possibly ask you to rummage around in their affairs. Well, you look parched. Perhaps you should stop by the Horned God for a drink. No point in lingering.
There's this one woman who's one of the people who's hanging around in there, Dame Tybalt. I don't know. Have we talked about her? 'Cause I don't think we talked. We just she's a random NPC. So
No,
like,
I haven't even been in the Horned God this whole playthrough.
like, there's one of the people in the Templar HQ is like a 120-year-old Templar soldier, a parent who's like, over the course of the campaign, she looks down on you because you're not English nobility and also Templar nobility, and you befriend her by the end of the game without saying anything. She just changes her mind.
We do a mission for her at some point.
There is no way that was a fair fight. I'm telling you, it was bloody rigged.
I may have little faith left in humanity, but I do have faith in the Council's rigid attention to rules. There is no chance in hell the game was rigged. You or me, a pint of lager.
Rigged! Look, I lost the wager, all right? I won't argue about that, but it was still rigged. Luella, 2 more pints, please. Wait, I remember you.
Oh, another one. Where'd you find them? In a catalog?
Passed out on a street, yeah? A fallen king should carry a warning sign. Well, look at you, all grown up and back from the front lines. Make that 3 pints, Luella, love. Cheers, mate. So, what's Egypt like these days?
I hear biblical is the word. More importantly, how is Amparo Osorio? We used to work together on the council. Lovely girl. Stunning breasts.
For fuck's sake, Conrad, who cares about breasts at a time like this? I want to know what the Orochis think they're up to.
In my experience, where the Orochi group is concerned, the question is never if they are up to something, but rather what they are up to.
What do you mean?
Now, on the council, we dealt with Orochi on a daily basis. Their operations were often in conflict with ours, requiring diplomatic attention. Of all their subsidiaries, Vali in particular caused us many headaches.
Varley? Remind me.
Officially, genetics, bioengineering. Unofficially, they are heavily invested in occult research. There were persistent rumors of experiments on human subjects, that they were, creating their own army of secret world soldiers.
No, of course they wouldn't be
I
doing
was
that.
enough to ask questions.
I think I've said before, they suffer the Cerberus problem
Yeah, I thought that was 'cause they're
of the only time you see them doing anything, it is failing.
At the tribunal. But the Templars were never particularly bothered about political correctness. However, you were never supposed to speak of the Orochi group. That was forbidden. There is an office right here in London, in the very shadows of Temple Hall.
Are you serious? I never heard about that.
Precisely. I find it very hard to believe that I know this, however, and our overlords at Temple Hall do not. But that is all I'm going to say on the subject. Now I will drink this beer and discuss the latest results from the secret war with Miss Vata, as is my wont.
I do like how the secret war thing boils down to basically sports matches.
Well,
And
yeah,
people-
because
the-
now
like,
it's all bees.
it's all bees and nobody cares. You just go out, you die, and you come back to life. So it's just like everyone else is just like whatever. And at least there's like, at least there's like, you could be doing a lot worse with your time. Like, at least they're not at each other's throats over that, and they're just, using people who are so expendable they come back after being expend. To fight their little turf wars while actually focusing some on big shit.
There was another Secret World crossover I saw that sadly died and never got updated, but it was a Secret World Worm crossover. And if you don't know what Worm is, don't read it, because it is insanely depressing.
Yeah.
If you've ever wanted to see someone make the wrong decision for an entire story, read Worm. Yeah, de-escalation is not in Taylor's playbook.
And now we're in the horror movie part of London.
Yeah, I look up the answer to this because I'm not sitting through whatever the bad ending is.
Yeah. This is You see, coming into a place like this in a video game, and unless you built it yourself, it's going to end. It's going to end horribly.
Hey, I've been meaning to ask, do they have good berries near where you are?
What?
Oh, Good Berries is a local frozen custard chain near where I live, and we live in the same state. So,
Yeah, I haven't seen them around me.
well, if you're ever in Raleigh, you should absolutely go because frozen custard is so much better than ice cream.
I mean, I feel like I should be talking about horror movie history or something. I just don't know any of it. I'm not a horror
And
movie
of
person.
course, it's on shelf 13.
Yeah, of course it is. They gotta pile those cliches on. Get them in nice and fierce.
I know MMOs never have any sense of time, but I can't help but wonder how long this place has been like this.
Yeah, it's very intact for something that's been like abandoned for who knows how long.
Yeah, no, my point is literally, how long has it been abandoned?
Like, it doesn't look like it's been like, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I mean, obviously it was like, it looks eerier like it was if it looks like it was just left behind. And of course they're all spying on everyone because, why wouldn't you? What else do you have to do on a Saturday night? Who names their dog Eugene?
Apparently one of the guys who works here. Uh-oh. There's a ghost in the system.
Oh no. Yeah, I remember being like, not like scared by it, but I remember being more impressed by the first time through this than I am now. I don't know why.
Yeah, there's pictures of the dog all over the desk, so... And now we have a boss fight. That just reminds me of Evil Dead for some reason.
Quick access inventory updated.
Yeah, I die a couple times here, because I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing.
Okay. Off you go.
Not that it matters to a bee. I mean...
Yeah.
But I pretty quickly figure it out. And I was supposed to go to that big swirling thing, but I didn't realize it the first time, so...
I feel bad about not having something to ramble about, but I don't know, like...
We'll be in Romania by the end of this, and you'll be able to ramble about all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, fair enough.
And what we're supposed to do is undo the shackles on this girl. Why it takes us so long, I have no idea. Yep. Just a boss fight. And there's Carter.
you look at it, her file is full of like question marks, unanswered questions, so they didn't have to pin down her backstory too much.
Okay, to fill time until we get to Callie and a cutscene, have you seen the new Mario movie trailer?
I've heard the clip. I've heard Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
And he's not trying and failing to do a Brooklyn accent. Not even doing like a Mario voice. Just, he's playing Chris Pratt again.
Yep. I'm not a fan.
I haven't been a fan since the beginning. Jack Black. I mean, apparently, I remember the moment I saw Jack Black was cast as Bowser. I was like, yeah, he's gonna do well in that role. And by all accounts, I was right in that. But he's
all the other voices are good that we've heard so far. It's literally just Chris Pratt being Chris Pratt that is the stumbling block.
Varley. Who's asking?
Limes and excursions.
That guy thinks he's Lancelot if you come to the park and talk to him.
When Gran had me hospitalized. Institutionalized. Amity House smelt like dead fridges. Ozone, no plants, no windows, no mirrors. So many pills, all the colors of a fake rainbow. They told me they would make the voices stop. Make my episodes stop. And they were right. I never heard Gaia's voice all the time I was in there. But it was all fun and games when the restraints came off. They would hook me up to a machine, take my finger to a button, show me photos, surveys, maps, symbols. I tried everything. Pressing it all the time, or not at all. When I was really doped up, I'd tap out the beat to love songs. One day they just threw me out into the greasy rain. Didn't care who I told. They knew no one would believe me. God, I couldn't believe it. Even the bad guys didn't want me. I was the wrong kind of freak.
There.
This isn't because I'm upset. I'm angry.
Be wary.
All familiars must be restrained.
Oh, for pity's sake, tuck your shirt in. We have an image.
Never say we don't keep you on your toes. An opportunity has opened for us in Romania.
There we go.
Transylvania.
Here we go.
So you can guess the thrust of it. Once the stomping grounds of the Wallachian prince Vlad Dracula. His knightly order was very loosely affiliated with ours. Certainly, he had the right ideas. His methods, however, were as extreme as the stories suggest. I hazard that the man was demented in the end. Whatever that end was, the creatures that bear his myth, vampires, outlived him and have been throttling the life from the country ever since. Now, an army of the beasts have gathered in the Carpathian foothills, an army unafraid of sun, of discovery, of the fact that their medieval reenactment is 500 years out of date. We have been sanctioned by the council to destroy them. Actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. We expect to be sanctioned by the time it's over with. One more detail. The Orochi group has a project in the mountains from which we understand there has been a distress call. I think it would be an act of chivalry to give it our full attention, don't you? Happy hunting. And pass my warmest regards on to Carmen.
Aren't you a little bit short to be in the
There we go. Aren't you a little bit short to be in the Templars? Star Wars reference.
Someday I ought to read up on Agartha and talk about, well, not what it actually is, but like, you know, what the old stereotype of it was, because it did not look, legend as it was invented by racists did not look much like this.
Getting that blowing sound again.
Yeah, I'll see if I can get this stuff fixed by next time. I think that may just be the air conditioning. It's kicking on for once, just spiking in the area after tropical storm brought cold, because we're both in North Carolina, and that swept through the area.
Yeah, there wasn't a video last time because the power went out and I didn't have any footage.
Which is understandable.
The power was out for 24 hours where I was. Here we go, last cutscene and then we're done.
You're a long way from home, and not quite dressed for the occasion. Your superiors, they did explain it is cold in the Carpathians, then? No matter. First we deal with the vampires, then the frostbite. Do not presume you know what to expect from vampires, from your movies, your games. The reality is dirtier. There is no superstition in my homeland, only reality. We grow up knowing to fear the night. Now the night fears me. Strange how life turns out. This valley was a refuge for all creatures. The forbidden, the lost, the forgotten. Such things whispered of in my grandmother's time. Today, it is a battlefield. I wonder, who would upset such a sanctuary? It is a very convenient crisis, if something needed to be buried out here, or unearthed. But the Council does not ask me to think, only to rally the troops. You see, the air is thick with stories on smoke. You should follow both to their sources. We make a big deal of folk tales. One brought me love. It's a sweet story, you know. Another blinded my eye. Not so sweet. Let's see what fortune they have for us now.
We're done! It's over!
We're done. It's over. Thank you.